Rightio, Campbell's Comments New Zealand show changed up a little bit today. Charlotte Mooney joins me. Firstly, hello.
Hello, Paul. How are we going?
Good. We said this is not going to be a long chat, and we did point out that we spoke for a little bit longer than half an hour last time. Who knows where it will go, because there is a lot going on. Firstly, where do we find you?
I am currently in Invercargill. I've just checked into the Ascot Hotel, which many people will know when they go on tour down here for the yearling sales or come down to the races. It's a bit of a iconic hotel and they're great supporters of the industry. So checked in here and I'm doing a bit of a tiki tour, catching up with breeders this week.
It's pretty cool what you're doing, and it's important right at the minute as well, with everything changing. You know, what potentially Aussies aren't going to be able to get across there. It's very, very important. You're going out and just meeting people and trying to bring some life, I suppose, back to the internet for what these guys are trying to achieve as the breeders.
Correct. So the New Zealand breeders have sort of contracted me to do a bit of media and marketing for them at the moment. Across all our Life's Big carnivals, but also leading into the yearling sales. So we're trying to put faces to names for a lot of people. So we're driving up the driveways and meet the person behind the brand. So you might have seen Bodine or, no Bodine Boaz, but do you know Dave and Dawn Kennedy, who are behind that brand? Do you know Katrina and John Price? Do you know John and Judy Stuyven? So at the moment I'm in Southland and literally just driving up driveways, having a quick yak, or trying to keep it as short as I can with everybody because they're just such good people down here, getting to know them, and then we'll start to put those short, sharp 3 to 5 minute interviews up on the Facebook page and the website, just to get to know everybody. And so I'm doing Southland this week, and when I head up north next week for some stuff around Waikato Cup at Te Rapa and start to do yearling sales videos, I'll catch up with the Waikato, and then when the lockdown finishes I'll do Auckland, and then I'll do Christchurch over Christmas New Year.
So you're going to be very busy.
Yeah, something like that. This time of the year is a bit mental. I'm on the countdown to March.
But it is very important, and it's one of the things I'm trying to do with this New Zealand show, is break down barriers, I suppose, for a lot of people and change things up so we do know who they are. It is important that you see the face, especially like a lot of the Aussies aren't going to be over there, no matter how we want to look at it. We're not going to get across there. I'm shattered, but I'm not the only one. There'll be people that want to buy horses and the likes. To be able to see a face so you know who you're actually talking to is very, very important.
Correct. And then you're learning a bit of history about them, and trying to find out how they raise their horses and things like that. And I think like what you do and what Nigel does with Unhinged, everyone just wants to know who everyone is, and everyone's a little bit nosy, want to know what's happening in the background, and you can just empower people with that knowledge and that connection. As you say, you pick up the phone, you ring up about a yearling and a draft, you've now got an idea of who that person is. Or you might have met them after a races one night and had a drink with them, and for the life of you can't remember their name, but you might recognise their face. So, I think everyone's been so clever in adapting to the COVID situation, and we've all, we're getting a bit more media savvy and utilising what we've got to market our horses and market the industry.
I think it's important. And I reckon with people, don't turn around and say, Charlotte's done an interview with me, so I'm not interested in doing one with Paul. I've done one with Paul, I'm not interested in doing one with Charlotte. Nigel's the same. That's crazy, because the exposure you can get from as many people. We all ask a question a different way. I've got a different accent to you guys, but we all ask a question a very different way, and there's a different way of getting people's messages out there, and we all strike a chord to different group of people as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think my stuff at the moment is very much breeders based. It's from that foundation. Where have they got their mares from? Are they breeding from mares that they've raced themselves? Are they buying in new bloodlines? What stallions are they liking? That side of things. Nigel and you do a really great more of the person and their story and their history, and probably a little bit more jovial sometimes. So I think different people pull different bits of information out of different characters. So Nigel interviewed Paul Hales the other day after he was at Addington the other day. I'm still going to go chat to Paul on Wednesday, but it'll probably be from a different angle. But then people get to know Paul and his breed and what he's up to. So,
yep.
Yeah, I think people, if you've got someone that wants to talk to you, and not everyone's comfortable, and I understand that in front of the camera, but I think everyone's become a lot more forgiving or understanding that we are doing things a little bit differently. It's a little bit more. It's not high tech, and no one really minds. They just want to chat to people. No,
exactly, and I think that's the most important thing. The more messages we get out there, if you all want to do it high tech, prices are prohibitive. That's one of the biggest things. So it gets harder and harder going there. Here in Australia, we haven't been able to get around much at all. Now I'm being able to get around. I can show more of the farms, people seeing behind them, and I've got a few things coming with a few of the Aussies here. It makes a big difference when some of the farms that people don't see a lot about either. Same as what you're doing. Like a lot of farms that probably close their doors off a little bit to be able to then expose them, in a different light. So, and going from there. Are you enjoying a new role? Because you've actually taken up a new role, and I haven't spoken to you since you did tease out that things were going to change, but are you enjoying the new role that you've got?
Yes, I am. So last time we spoke, I was had a full-time role at the Waikato Racing Club. I was operations manager and whatnot there, and I was doing marketing for people along on the side. Since then, I've resigned from the racing club and gone to a contract role for them, and then doing contract work, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying getting out and about, talking to everyone, enjoying the flexibility of sort of being here, there and everywhere as much as the COVID lockdowns allow, and I'm really quite privileged. It doesn't actually feel like work at the moment, and this time of the year is such an exciting time of the year, and I'm working with some really nice, great people, good brands, and so yeah, thoroughly enjoying it.
And I'm incredibly jealous because you get to see some beautiful countryside. I must say it is ridiculous. One of the reasons I wanted to touch base with you was Saturday. I was going to say yesterday, but it was actually Saturday. And I'm going to go with Geraldine because Canberra sent me a message. Are you watching? Where was it? Where was the official track?
We were at Orari racetrack.
So it's no good for me. I can't even get that out. But and I was like, where's it? But then he turned around and he told me. Geraldine, and it was on Sky One over here, and I was fortunate enough. I watched one of the races, but I saw a message from you at the end of it that you thank goodness you packed a spare pair of clothes. I'm going to actually show a replay of the actual last race. It just looked horrendous, the conditions.
Yeah. The guy, I take my hat off to our trainers and our drivers. You show that clip, and then I'll tell you about it. It was just crazy.
No, you can keep talking. It's there. I haven't actually got the audio, but it's going back now. I don't know exactly where it is. It's before the home turn is where they're at, so they've probably still got a half mile to go. Grass track racing intrigues me anyway, yep. but racing on a bottomless grass track is just amazing.
Summer, you just wouldn't predict it. It was like racing on a winter. I probably have, but I can't remember being at a racetrack and having a day as bad as we did. And those drivers, even though they were probably just laughing because it was just so horrific, they all still had smiles on their faces, most of them. And it was funny, the first couple of races they were leaving and you'd see them scurry off to the bathroom between heats and sort of just trying to tidy themselves up a bit. By about race 5, they were just given up and they were just finding as many layers of colours that they could to layer up. And yeah, no, it was pretty testing, and I was very fortunate. As I was driving out the driveway, the rural delivery postie was coming up our driveway, and she had a parcel for me. I'd done a wee bit of online shopping, and I just threw it in the back seat. And, I was saturated by the end of the day. Turns out my waterproof jacket isn't that waterproof. So after the last, I scurried off to the ladies' driver's room and very quickly put a clean pair of clothes on, and I was very grateful for that because she was very testing.
It was, yeah. They're about 100 from home, and you cannot see some of the people. Bob Butt, he's got green colours with white sleeves. Like you could not. The race call, you got to take. I think it was Craig Rail actually. I think it was the Aussie.
It was, yes.
But the colours were changing mid-race because there was no white.
There's probably been I actually put a photo up on the Brecken page from that last race. We had a run at around third, and Johnny, the guys were all sort of just laughing amongst themselves how bad it was, and thank goodness it was all over. And all you can just see is Johnny's teeth smiling, and the rest of him he's blended in with the Brecken colours. It's just mud everywhere. And we've got a photo, it was on Twitter on the All Stars page of Mark Purdon when he went out on the track looking pristine and coming back in after one race if it was not so pristine.
I think they got beat in the feature race. So, but the one thing that intrigues me, and you'll understand this, the prize money, like if we have a grass track race here in Australia, they're a little bit like T20 cricket. It's a bit of hit and giggle, like it's not, we don't take them that seriously. A few years ago, prior to COVID, they were going to have them at Yarra Glen, and unfortunately they got washed out. Same thing, it's in early November, and they got washed out. But Yeah, they're a little bit of a novelty. Whereas over there, they're taken very seriously. I think Cam Bray, he's the president of one of the clubs. Like, it's taken seriously the way this grass track racing is happening.
100%. And there are grass track specialist horses, obviously not knee deep in mud like Saturday, although it did suit some of them. But it is a bit of an iconic tradition. I think in Australia you'd probably call them more like picnic style meetings, whereas here we have a Country Cups series, which is some of those open class horses go around the circuit, and then there's a nice final with a decent stake against, I'm not quite sure what the final is these days, but it's always quite a prestigious one to win. And you do, the weekends, the Sunday picnic, well, they're not picnic, Sunday grass meetings are incredibly well supported by the industry. Great fields, big fields, and also in non-COVID times, a huge marketing tool for the industry in terms of bringing mum and dad and the kids along. They can bring the picnic banquet and the gazebo. And we're very lucky. We've got a great collection of grass tracks. So Cam, you touch on Banks Peninsula, Mochikarara is the track there. I think they're racing on Sunday, but it's as the Akaroa meeting, I think, at Mott. I might be wrong, but I think they are. And so he's part of that one, and that's one of the really iconic Canterbury grass tracks, and it's a great track.
So there'll be no crowds there, is that what you're saying?
Well, we go into traffic lights. So we're actually all probably waiting at 4 o'clock today. We find out how our next phase of COVID is being managed by the government, and we've got traffic lights. So if you're traffic light orange, which Canterbury and the South Island you'd assume would be because there's not a rampant outbreak, as long as you're double vaccinated, you're able to attend. So that's going to be really good for racing. There's a few people that are a bit not so happy about the double vaccination rule, but at the end of the day, the clubs in the industry aren't making the rules. We need to have people on course to make money, and it's a government mandate. If you want to be an event with people, you're either double vaccinated with unlimited numbers and sort of get back to normal, or if you choose not to, here the limit's 100.
Yep.
So that's just crazy. I'm sitting here waiting for 4 o'clock with the Waikato Cup for Te Rapa next week, and we will either be 100 people on course or we'll be 5,000, and either way we've got 10 days to organise that meeting depending on what's happening. So,
and clearly 5,000 is a much better result for the club.
Much better result for the club. It keeps that those iconic race days on people's calendar. A lot of people, I said it to you before, I work on, people go at Christmas time because the boss is shouting, and then they might go one other time during the year, and we need to have that Christmas, summer, great experience for people to make sure they come back next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably a good thing they didn't have picnic rugs there on the weekend. By the looks, they would have been boats and they would have floated away. So
I actually wore my gumboots, so that's where we're at. I threw them in. I don't know why. I'm so pleased I threw them in. So they got well utilised on Saturday. It was just extraordinary.
There's so many lines there the Australians will be saying, but I leave them all alone, Charlotte. You wear another hat, and I'll put this one on for a start. So
there you go.
I have to put a hat on. Everyone can see how follically tested I am. Don't worry about it. You've got other hats as well. You got the Dunstan one on there. Yours going there. But Brecon Farms, Inter Dominion, firstly, King of Swing. They must be just wrapped with how he's performed firstly on the opening night, and looks to have a stranglehold in the whole series just at the minute.
Yeah, it's a big thrill. It's such an honour for Ken and Karen and the farm to have a horse of his calibre going around, and to see him back and winning quite comfortably on Saturday. And obviously he will tighten up again heading into Wednesday. So it's very, very exciting. He's got a wide draw, but he's got the class. So no, it's a thrill to have a horse like him as a flag bearer for the farm over there.
It will be. It's going to be interesting because he doesn't race at many other tracks. He races at Melton or Menangle. All of a sudden, and I don't know, but I believe it's a little bit hilly. So how he handles, he might just say I'm back at home, but that might be the only curveball that getting into Bathurst could be a bit hilly. And I know Newcastle's not hilly, but I know it's a long trip. It's a good couple of hours from Menangle and all in traffic. So there's a couple of still curveballs from to sort of cover off, I suppose, but he was very good. The stables actually had the breeding barns actually had a pretty good weekend. They had a winner on Sunday just gone, and a couple other winners as well, didn't they?
Yes, yep. We've had a fantastic week actually, and it's the horse has been consistent throughout the year, but it was sort of comes at the right time when you're trying to market a yearling draft. So yes, Orari, Passion and Power, she didn't mind the mud too much, and she put in a really game performance. On Friday night at Alex Park, Mr. Muscle put it all together on the second start for his new trainer, and had a really nice win at Alexandra Park. And he was quite exciting for a different reason for us, because I was being a bit of a nerd on Saturday morning, and out of our draft from 2019, he was the 21st individual winner out of the 25 horses we put through the sales ring. So that was something that we were, when I threw it in the chat to the team, we're pretty proud of. So
you had a draft in 2019 of 25?
Yep.
21
of one races, like 1A race. 23 have run 1, 2 and 3. And of the other 2, one was a trial winner and unfortunately had a paddock accident, and the other has just come back into work in Australia. They've just taken plenty of time with it, so there's hope yet. So
what's the one? What's the name of the one in Australia?
They've changed its name. It's Out of State of the Nation. So we'll see what's happened. What happens? I can't remember its actual name at the moment. I know it's had a name change. So we'll see. And then if he got there, that would be pretty special to know the whole draft has made it to the trials or the races. So.
Yep. And you're looking forward to the sales this year? Like how big's the draft this year?
I think we're 34 or 35.
Yeah.
There's a couple of client horses in there. The horses are all in. They started their preps last Monday, so they've had a week. Really, they start their preps months ago, but in terms of this round, the colts have all been separated, covers are on, they're in and out of their routine in their boxes and out in their paddocks, being handled, they're on the walker, being hand walked, so it's all kind of go. They're sort of hit school, and they will stay in until just before Christmas, and then they'll get a nice 10-day break or so just to go and be horses for a while, and then we get ready for the actual sales day. So it's going to be very weird because we're all kind of hoping that the Aussies might be able to come and join us.
Me too. I'm putting my hand up vigorously to be able to get across there. I've got to say well done to you, and this is not a brown nose because I did share it though, and I shared it because it was quality and like not high production quality. Back to what we were saying before with the people, I think a lot of it was done through an iPhone and the likes, but just the way of marketing your horses and putting a date so that people could see a different timeline and all the rest, brilliant. You know, people are always trying to just raise that bar a little bit. Doesn't have to be expensive and the rest, but that video production you guys did, I think was brilliant. I think it's just great insight as to what goes on, but also where these horses are at.
Thank you. Yeah, and it was sort of and you're right, it's low production. It's when I've been out and about around the farm over the last since they've been weaned, and I'm there and I just grab snippets of video, and so anyone can do that. It was done on my iPhone, and the cameras on the iPhones these days are pretty good.
Yep.
Not high production, but it was just a bit of a video diary of where the yearlings, what they've been up to over winter, and it's to show people that they're on grass all year round. They look good, you know, they might be a bit muddy and a bit woolly, but you can see that foundation of condition is there for them. And so at the moment we really are just putting those finishing touches on them. We're not trying to suddenly force feed them or create a yearling. You're buying a horse that's been looked after from day dot. And it goes back to people like to have a bit of a nosy around and see what people's places and properties look like as well. So that's another draw card for people. But yeah, I encourage other, vendors and people. And I had a conversation with a Southland breeder just earlier. We said that everybody needs to raise the bar. It's not about necessarily being in competition with each other and I've done this and you haven't done that. It's none of that. It's actually if we all consistently raise the bar and promote ourselves collectively to the Australian, to the American markets really opening up, still horses going up to Canada, I think, and just to say, hey, this is the Kiwi bred horse and this is what we can produce, and we're incredibly lucky that we've got wonderful bloodlines, but we've also got great properties they're raised on, and this is what we can do. So that was literally iPhone footage and used on an editing. I do have proper video software, but I just use the one that comes on my computer. So most people
can do it.
Could whip something like that together.
And it is incredibly important. And people, I get frustrated sometimes with copycats that do things that I don't suppose are really relevant. I encourage anyone just to copy what Charlotte did. Because and I mean that in all sincerity, because it's such a simple process that people. But like you said, it's just window shopping. You can see the horses. You can't actually make out any of those horses, but you can actually see those horses. It's just a way of exposing your farm in a cheap, cost-effective way to do it, and also not to get caught up in the whole. Because I've got a lot of people saying to me, we want to do live parades. I've got sales for Nutrient in Sydney. Hopefully doing some stuff for the guys, Southern Breed. Tim White, I've done an interview with him. He wants to do some stuff. There's going to be a lot of clutter. Whereas right now there's this lot of open space that you can actually get it out there, and people can actually physically see these horses. Whether they physically see them and can inspect them and say, "Oh, I don't like that leg" or whatever, that doesn't matter. Just a tease to get people out there and know their horses are there.
And that was the whole purpose. And we were able to see the traffic that went to the website to people to go and have a look at our draft before the catalogue was out, and knowing that the catalogue was coming. And it was just a nice introduction to then be able to start plugging the draft. And sort of said to someone the other day, goodness, by the time we get around to the sales, you kind of get sick of writing, and we offer a half brother role. But the reality, that's what it is at the moment. That's what this next 8 weeks is about, is bringing people's attention to siblings and to what you've got. And it is kind of going to be breaking through all that clutter that will come. But if at the moment we can get people thinking and seeing and sparking their interest, and what was that? They don't know. There's a few snippets there. There's a few colts in there that do catch the eye. And I've already had a couple of people just say to me at the races, "What was that colt?" I'm like, goodness me, I don't know. The paddocks of them, I probably could, but just wait and see. So you do things, and people just like to know what's going on. And so, it's a bit of a journey. So I'll be at the farm next week, and we'll catch up and just do a bit of a video diary and talk to our yearling manager, Philly, as to what all the four-legged kids have been up to over the last sort of 2 weeks and how they're progressing, and just give you an idea of their daily routine, just so people know what kind of handling they've had and what's happening.
And you'll also get your feed company out, which is the other hat that you wear. I better put my NZB hat on, and as I said, there will be plenty going on there. You said about your farm manager Nigel Fay, on I think it was Friday night just gone, but had a uniquely bred horse, or it might have been yesterday. I can't remember which day I watched actually.
It was Friday night. I was looking through the results. I think it was. I watched the race and saw it, and well, hang on, that can't be right. What's happening here?
And it's beautiful. Beautifully named. It's called Escape the Pace. It's by a rock and roll dance out of a Christian coloured mare, who's left, I think, 3 or 4 other winners. And this filly must have decided she doesn't like being a pacer, but it's one of the great things about breeding.
100%. They can come from anywhere. So, it lined up as a 2-year-old trotter. So, and she went round, didn't break. So that's a great start. It's a bit of a unique one. But look at Captain Treacherous. He sired a Harness Jewels winner this year.
Yep, and actually an expat Kiwi, Nathan Purden, has one as well that trots. But he tipped his out in the paddock. But so there's 2 treacherouses that I know of that actually trots. I actually like that, I must say. So. And
there is also, and we're going to talk about it. We'll talk to the breeder. There's actually a Captain Treacherous out of a very good trotting there in the sale this year, which was and can happen.
Yep.
There was a mix up with straws, frozen. But anyway, they've got a cracking Captain Treacherous that loves to trot. So I asked the guy whether he was a genius, it was a bit of a master stroke, or whether it was a wee whoopsies. And it was a whoopsies, but he said, gosh, there's not much to fault there. So, people should have a wee look through the catalogue and see if they can find that one.
Shameless promotion is what I do best. I don't have a problem with it at all. I did an interview with Pat Driscoll, and he doesn't give a lot of interviews, from Haras to Trotters, and they're sponsors of mine. They help produce these shows and the likes. He said that is the greatest asset we have in Australia and New Zealand, is that we can try those things. And I, for the life of me, cannot remember her name, but Johnny Dunn's got her, and she's a ready cash pacer. He sent her to an Art Major mare. She's won. I almost had her name just then. She won on Dominion Day. She won the last race on Dominion Day, and but Pat tried to breed a fast trotter. So he sent Ready Cash over this mare, who's a quality mare, got a fast pacer. I think she's won half a dozen races. I still can't think of her name. I think she won the last.
No, I can picture her winning on the last.
She won the last race. That's exactly right. Louise Tillman will be watching this from Haras to Trotter. She'll be saying, "Paul, I'm going to belt you for not remembering it." But But that's one of the great things that we can do, is try and change things up. So it may not have been intentional, but it's what makes breeding so cool, and that's why I love it.
Yeah, and you say that, our dad's always wanted to, our family that we've got of the Liberty Bell line, they go back to a trotting mare called Toronto, which is like third down on the pages, was a tidy trotter. And Dad's always jokingly said, I'd love to put one of our mares to a French trotting stallion or an American to put speed in, just to see, for a bit of an experiment. And we are very lucky he can do that. We've stopped him. But yeah, it's amazing when you go through the pages, when you do go back through the good paces that have got trotting blood in them, and there's a few. Safely Kept was one that went both ways, and now you can sort of see, have a look back through and go, oh, okay, well, that's gone that way with that one or that way. So Peter's Delight, he's thrown a couple of lovely trotters. Yeah,
well, there was a roll with Joe the other day, and he's a full brother too. Betters Delight, it actually trotted as well. We could go on forever, but Mataderos is out of La Cucaracha. Cookie was a superstar over here. She's been a beautiful brood mare. She's left nothing but trotters. If you actually go back one more generation, you'll find pacers all the way through that family. There's pacers and trotters, and then all of a sudden it just becomes a trotting family again, and it continued. And there's another one, I think it's Aleppo RS over here, 4 big men. One side of it trots and one side of it pacers, and they go to Armbro operatives and the likes, and they got pacers, and they went to, I can't remember who they went to, but they got trotters. And there's just some really, really good, look up 4 big men and have a look at the siblings out of that family. Over here is an easy name to remember, and it's another one that I should know them all, but they come in and out. You know, there's no hair up there because there's not a lot of room, and it just gets a bit complicated. But I love breeding, and that's why I look forward to the breeding season.
Yeah, and it's also full credit to the trainers that are willing to go both ways with them. You know, like if you haven't quite made it as a pacer, to go, oh, actually, hang on, it's got a little bit of a ticker, it's got a bit of a motor, let's see, and giving them that extra chance. We've got a there's one that's come off the farm. It's an Art Major that's a trotter at Mark Purden's at the moment. It decided it didn't particularly want to be a pacer, and now it's bowling around really nicely with some trotters. So, as you say, and not good on those trainers for giving them a second chance and going, well, actually, maybe it's going to be more comfortable doing this, and they can come from anywhere. Yeah,
definitely. They definitely can. There was an Art Major trotter that went very good over here. I'm going to let you go because you've got to go and do some more interviews, and you'll have time to. You won't have the voice to if you keep talking to me for much longer. But Charlotte, thank you very much. Well done to everything that you're doing. Keep an eye out for the Brecken Farms, Southern Bred guys, all the guys there. They'll be seeing you over the next few days, and other, I'm sure other breeders in the South Island as well. And look forward to seeing everything else you bring to the table leading up to Christmas and even post-Christmas.
Thank you very much. No, really looking forward to getting around and getting up some of these driveways and meeting some people that I haven't met and finding out about their story and trying to share them with everybody. So, yeah, we'll just keep chipping away and see what we can do.
Thank you very much. I'm going to throw to the interview with Tim White. I appreciate your time, and thanks for joining me.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time, Paul.
Right. Campbell's Comments New Zealand show now. I am catching up firstly with Tim White from White Stables. Hello, mate.
Hello, Paul. How are you?
Very, very good. Modern technology has caused us a little bit of grief, but at least we've got this interview happening now, mate.
Oh, yeah. The computer might go out the window shortly.
It can't do that because we've got to embrace this year as a different year. It's going to be hard for Australians to get over to New Zealand and have a look at some of these draft of horses that you guys have got on offer, and a lot of other people. So we've got to do things a little bit differently, and you reached out to me, I suppose, one, to raise the profile so people are aware of what you're doing, but also going forward, we're going to probably do a couple of different things with your promotion of your yearlings.
Yeah, well, you've got to be able to promote yourself and your draft. It's a changing world the way it is at the moment, so we just don't know what's going to happen. You know, could we have the sales? We might be back in lockdown by then. You wouldn't know. So you've just got to get out there and promote things. Yeah,
and things do change quickly. I know there was a conversation the other day. I think your Prime Minister said that you're not going to be out until April. We were going to be in lockdown and well past Christmas, and we're back pretty much. There's supermarket's got to wear a mask, but everything else you can just walk into. So things do change quickly, and hopefully for New Zealanders it does, not only for the sales, but just for your own guys, for your own well-being, because there's nothing worse than being in a hard lockdown and waiting around. Firstly, mate, a little bit about you. I'm trying to fit you in with shoeing duties. So you're a farrier,
yeah.
Are you?
Yeah. Farrier down here in Southland, and I was away on the weekend up at Cromwell doing the gallops. I do all the thoroughbred racing, the farrier at the races down here in the Southland and the lower bit of Otago, and no, I'm just keeps me out of trouble anyway.
Do you train horses as well, or?
No, I've done that. I've had a go at that, and trained 30 odd winners and drove 4 winners myself. It was quite remarkable because I couldn't drive, But they carried me where it was, and I've had a couple of nice horses. A horse called Motor Crusader, what went to Australia, and a trotting mare what I won 8 with the perfect hold. So so had a bit of fun.
Moto Crusader went to the brother and sister-in-laws, so it all stays close to. It definitely stays close to home. You've got a big draft of horses coming up in the sale for NZB, all in Christchurch, which starts on the 14th and ends at the 16th at Canterbury Park. How many did you say you've got? 12 lots. 12,
11 colts and 1 filly.
11 colts and 1 filly.
Yeah. So she's sort of out there by herself a bit, but no, they're quite a nice bunch. We've got most of them here now. There's still 3 to come. So, but the owners are doing them, so they look pretty good. Good so far.
So when you say the owners are doing them, you don't have all your own horses. You prepare horses for other people as well.
Yeah, these are all clients.
Right.
What we've got some repeat clients that have come back, so that's good.
And you have a bit of a love affair with the Trotters?
Yeah, I like them. Had a few, probably half of my wins were Trotters. But it's quite handy when you're able to shoe them yourself and you can just tinker away with them. And my father had a bit of a passion. He liked the Trotters and that, so we just carried on. And we had a bit of luck. Yeah,
so Dad had the soft spot for the Trotters, and you basically followed suit.
Yeah, he had thoroughbreds for a start, and then trained some good gallopers. But then he went to the trotting side of it. So it's like I was just saying there before. I've got that mare over in Australia, so like a 9-win Sundon mare. So she's a way to start it with Kath and them. So
at Lower Long Farms, we must mention that. And being served by Pastor Stevens, who stands at Lower Long Farms, I think for 5,500 roughly, but I don't know how that equates to in New Zealand. But make sure you look up the Lower Long Farms draft. It was formerly known as Northern Rivers. If you type in either Northern Rivers or Lower Long Farms, it'll come up under both, and she's got a good strong draft. Will you be bringing her back home, or are you enticed to leave her over here in Australia?
Well, I was talking to Kath the other day and said that I might bring her home about the same time as the sales and bowl her ourselves and that, but things could change. If I win Lotto or something, she might just stay there.
Yep, very good. How many horses do you have of your own? Like how big's your property, and how many do you have of your own?
There's 30 acres here. I haven't got any here myself. My wife's she's got a lot of ponies, and we've got a couple of pony stallions. So Julianne, she's well known in New Zealand for breeding ponies and showing them. She's had a Horse of the Year title with one of her thoroughbreds, and so and the ponies. She bred a lot of ponies and sold them, and they've won titles. So she's pretty well up there in the equestrian ranks.
So Julie's last name?
Baines.
Julie Baines. And she loves a pony. She doesn't like the camera though, does she?
No. That's why I'm doing it. I'm the self-acclaimed PR man when it comes to the yearlings, because I've been round a bit, so I know most of the people what we're selling to. So, but she's in the background doing all the work, so I just stand there and do the PR. And
she'll throw something at you if you say the wrong thing.
Yes, I know, because she's got a big stick at the moment. She's going to belt me with it if I say something wrong. You're
very smart, actually, because of the headphones, and we can't hear her. I did one last week with Brent, and you could hear. I think it's Sheree behind. You could hear a lot of people behind. I think the ladies think you don't get heard, but you definitely do get heard. So you don't have the yearlings on your place. You do them off-site.
No, they're here. They're on the place here. Yeah, they're on place here. There's a track and everything on this place, so we're able to put them on the jog frame and walk them around the track, or go in one of the paddocks and just muscle them up a bit. Yeah, but there's 9 here at the moment.
Yep. Sorry, I misunderstood you just there before.
Yeah.
I thought it was only the pony. I thought there was only the ponies on the place. So, as you can see, he's getting told off because he lifted the phone up. He was getting told off. Good range of trotters. The one thing I'm very intrigued with, I don't think you've got a double up of stallions. I think most of your stallions are one single. Is that on purpose? Like, do you try to spread them around a little bit, or just by design?
Well, it's just what the owners of the clients have sent us. But I see we've actually got a couple of hands to trotters this year. I see we've got a used to me. He'll be quite interesting.
Well,
he's like.
Yeah, I'm not sure the New Zealanders know a lot about him. He actually sired the South Australian Derby winner the other day. He sired Breeders' Crown winner last year from small amount of horses. He's also had a mare that was a 5-year-old whose name escapes me right. I'm Ready Set. Who's the older sister to I'm Ready Jet, who was a 3-time Breeders' Crown winner. She was a prolific mare. She's in foal now too. So from a small amount of horses, he's a French bred stallion. He's doing an awesome job over here. And there's a good book of yearlings going to nutrient sale this year as well to him. So I think they've been well sought after. I don't know how many there are in New Zealand though.
I don't think there's many actually, but Lex Williams, I think he's going to go to a few of the hands to trotters next year. He's telling me he's going to go the French way, Tomoko and those sort of horses. But he's got four here with us, and 3 of them are trotters. But they're out of mares that are out of one over Kenny.
Yep.
One's a Majestic Sun mare, and one's a Love You mare.
Yep.
And there's a Love You colt out of One Over the Sky, and there's an Andover Hall out of One Over the Stars. And he's got one by his own sire, One Over the Moon, what's out of Muscle Girl. She's a Muscle Hill mare, he leased. So it's got a bit of breeding too on the dam side.
Good range. There is a good range of horses there on Solitaire as well, which you're doing pretty good. I always try to look after my sponsors, and Haras Trotters, they sponsor me, and you said there before about getting into the French way as well, so I will say well done. But I was talking to Makar Lodge last week, and there's raps on them, not necessarily what they're doing on the racetrack, just their appearance and how they present as horses.
Yeah, no, this fellow we got's a lovely horse. He's a real nice horse. He's quite funny. He's got a big white blaze.
Yep.
He actually looks like a thoroughbred with his face on his head, but no, he's quite a nice type. But be interested. Like I was talking to Mac the other day, and just to see what they can. He likes them.
Yeah.
Just got to see what they can trot now.
Yeah.
They're nice types. They are nice types.
That's the way, and the way the trotters are going. I mean, you said you started out with Dad. You've seen a fair evolution, like you watched Sunday's Sun 2 weekends ago. You must shake your head in disbelief when you see how fast they are going now.
Actually, he could have won the cup if he had started in it, going that time.
It is just we are catching up. And to put it into perspective, a lot of people, saying, oh, that's hard to believe that they can do that. Briantissim, a horse, I don't know if you said it. No, Bird Parker, sorry, one of the other ones that stands for Haras Trotters. His best mile rate for the 2 mile is 4 seconds quicker than Lazarus's winning of the New Zealand Cup. Like, that's how fast they are in overseas. So it can be done with shoeing, carts, but just the evolution of the breed. It's just brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, they've sort of gone away from years ago. You used to change a pacer into a trotter, but now they're like thoroughbreds, these ones, so they can just run.
Do you have more of a soft spot for the trotters?
Yeah.
That's
why I've got that mare in Australia going to. Well, she won 9, so.
Yep.
So she. That's why I went to Pastor Stevens.
Why did you send her to Australia? Just not the opportunities in New Zealand, or?
Well, I think she'd sort of got to her mark here, and I just thought, well, I went to Kerry Ann Morrison, the centre over there on a bit of a deal, and so she won 4. She won 2 at Albion Park and 2 at Menangle. So and they're all from stands.
Yep.
So but just more opportunity for her.
Did she get a time next to her name?
No. That was I sent her over there to get a mile time, but she ran second one day in 56. So it was just a bit hard.
I could talk to you all day about trotters, but you've got a good sprinkling of paces going through as well. Always Be Mickey. The fillies especially have been very well received everywhere. There's one that's had 2 starts for 2 wins over here. Very well bred horse out of it's called Intercept. It's out of Intrude. But also in America, they've been very well sought after. The Always Be Mickeys, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, we were lucky. We've got 3 of them this year.
Yep.
So 2 colts and a filly. Yeah.
Yep, and they're keen. You've also got an American Ideal, and you were talking to me just there before we started this. You said to me that you bred American Dealer.
No, we just prepared him.
Prepared him. Sorry.
He was bred by Woodlands, and Lou Driver bought him, and he sent him down here, and we prepared him and sold him at the sales, and I kept the share in him, and he went up to raise, and then they sold him to America, the Americans, the Banks and Hanover. He's
doing a good job. I think he's a victim of a long season at the minute, but he's done a good job. He was sensational in Queensland.
Yeah, lovely horse. Lovely wee horse when we had him here. He's just, we used to call him Fat Boy because he was just, he was quite rotund at the time when we had him here, but just lovely wee horse. Do anything with him. Just, really liked him. Yeah.
Do you like the American Ideals?
Yeah, I do. I actually like this horse we've got here now, the one out of Classical. He's got a nice type. She's left a few winners.
She has she? Yeah. They're very hard. They're hard to get in Australia. Like, he's been booked out the last 2 years. I think he's booked out, almost booked out for next year again. So they're very well received. The other ones you got there is, and I'm presuming that the 291 is out of in the pocket mare, but the Sweet Lou over here, they're doing an awesome job over here, and I've been fortunate enough to be going around to some of the people's places and inspecting some of the yearlings already, and there's some cracking types in the sales coming up here in Australia. How does this bloke shape up?
Yeah, he's out of an in the pocket. I mean, he's out of Feet's pocket. Well, she just herself, this is her 17th foal, and 13 foals to race 12 winners. They've won over 100 races, these horses. He's a lovely horse too.
Lovely, good.
A lovely type.
Does he have the bling or no bling?
No bling. He hasn't got the big white face like most of them. We had one last year, what we bred a Sweet Lou, and it was just a plain bay. Yeah. What we sold at the sales last year. We never got the bling, so we were a bit short on that.
He seems to be a bit of an all or nothing, Lou. He either leaves a lot of bling on them or nothing. They're playing bays, but it doesn't seem to affect their performance. They go terrific, and they continue to do a good job. If people want to get in touch with you, Tim, how do they go about that?
If they want to, they can email Julie on julie.baines@extra.co.nz or on their cell phone. It's on the bottom of the
on the catalogue.
Catalogue there anyway. Have you got your catalogue yet?
No. Have you got yours?
No, just online. But the way Cam sends things, it could be 3 weeks after the sales.
I don't know if you listened to us last week, but I had
yes, I did.
It's legitimate. I got some poor kid's Kiwi teddy bear. Cam kept saying, "Has it come? Has it come?" And I said, "Nah, look, it's come. We're fine." And I picked it up, and I nearly hit myself in the chin because I was expecting a heavy box, and it was the same. It was actually a similar size, but yeah, it looks like in customs they must have tore one of the logos off, the labels off, and put it on the
other one.
Yeah, so some poor child was a bit late getting his Kiwi teddy bear. So, but they eventually did arrive, and when they do, I'll make sure I'm putting them out. We're going to do some stuff. Probably just after Christmas. We'll try and change it up a little bit so the Australians can definitely, well, not just the Australians, actually Americans and French. I get a lot of French people watch Campbell's comments and the like, so we're going to try and change it up a little bit. We'll do either a yearling parade or at least get out and be able to see the vast majority of your draft. Yeah,
that'd be good, thanks. Yeah, that'd be really good.
Yeah, very, very good. All right, mate. Well, do you have to go off shoeing now, or do you have the rest of the day off?
No, I'm away shoeing now. I've probably got 5 or 6 to do this afternoon, but that won't take long.
Very good.
Such a beautiful day here, just like living in Australia.
Couldn't be that good. This is paradise, mate. We're paradise. Don't you worry about that. You're starting to get a little bit like Cambrai. I think the longer I have you on, it's going to be more dangerous.
I listen to him a fair bit on here, and we him and myself throw a bit of banter at each other. So yeah, he takes the mickey out of me a bit at times at the sales. He did last year, so it might be time to get a wee bit back on him.
You can get back anytime you like. We might try and do a link into leading up either to Christmas or just after Christmas. But Tim, thank you very much for joining me, mate. And
thanks, Paul.
And
Yep.
good luck with your draft. I really appreciate your time. And anyone wants to get in touch, please get the catalogue and have a look. And even the Australians, they can ring in and have a chat to you and talk about them as well.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Right, Campbell's Comments New Zealand show now. Catching up with Mark Jones. Hi, mate.
How you going? You well?
Yeah, very well. We caught up, be over a year ago now, for the Ready to Run sales about 12 months ago. Unfortunately, you guys didn't have those. We didn't have those this year, but it's been a little while, so I thought I should try and reach out and have a bit of a catch up.
Yeah, it's good to catch up, and the Nutrient did do a good job last year in the Ready to Run, but unfortunately we had none this year, so hopefully next year we'll be back.
You don't mind the sales, you don't mind selling horses, but also buying from the yearling sales and I suppose trying to turn a quid?
Yeah, pretty much we're probably the biggest selling stable in New Zealand. Like, we do sell a lot of horses. We've sold New Zealand Cup winners and multiple group winners, so you always believe the check doesn't break down when we sell them, and it's how we survive over here in New Zealand. And we are a good breeding ground for horses, and the handicapping system in Australia is a lot better, so they can earn a lot more money.
Right, so for Australians watching the show, how many horses do you train?
We'll probably cut back to what we used to be. We're down to about 25 now. We were up to the 50, 60 mark, but those days are kind of gone. So we're around the 25, but pretty much most of them for sale. Probably the 3 or 4 the Aussies really want at the moment aren't for sale. We've got some pretty good mares and work and a couple of nice open class horses, but other than that, the rest are on the market.
So why did you cut down? Just economics or time?
Yeah, there's no more money in working more horses, and it's hard to get the right staff. And when I do things, I like to do it properly. So by having a smaller team and a more select team, we can spend more time with them. We've got to travel, we've got the staff to do it, and as the days of the big numbers and that are kind of gone, and I'm probably a big believer you got to have a life out of racing as well. So by having the smaller numbers, the staff are happier and the horses are happier, and we get to enjoy things away from racing, which is a big key thing. And as I said, got to the stage in life where it's a lifestyle decision, but I think it's a very good business decision as well, and to be able to concentrate on the smaller numbers and be more selective what we work, we're having more success.
Yeah, so you actually answered I was going to say, so you actually enjoy it. Obviously, because you enjoy your home life, then your work life becomes a lot easier as well.
It does, yeah, especially with staff. Like, I know some stables in New Zealand, they're asked to work extremely long hours, and you've got night races, and we have a lot of Sunday races here and workouts during the week, and if the boss gets tired, the staff are even getting tighter. So you got to be pretty kind to them, and if the staff are happy, the horses will be happy, and everyone enjoys their job. So I'm kind of a big believer in that, and they have a pretty good morale around the stables, and they've got to be enjoying it. So if they don't enjoy it, they're not going to do the job properly.
Do you have a goal? Like, I imagine if I asked you this 5 years ago to now, I'd say it was pretty different.
Yeah, I've probably been lucky in life. I kind of done a lot of driving early on, and kind of got every goal that I wanted to there. And then probably my main goal in training was probably to win the Dominion Handicap, and I kind of trained and drove 2 of them. So kind of done everything we kind of want to. So of course, the obvious one now is going to be the New Zealand Cup, which everybody wants to do, and probably to do that I've got to stop selling all the good ones. So it's a bit of a catch-22, but we've got some good owners behind us buying the right stock at the sales. We don't buy many, but we kind of target the right ones, and we're having good success at that, so hopefully that can continue. How
do you juggle that? Do you go, right, we're going to go to the sales, and this horse is going to be in New Zealand Cup, so he never comes on the market, but this is a horse that I think we might be able to do a job with and turn a small profit or a big profit, if you're lucky enough to. Is that how you do it, or when they come home you sort of work it out after that?
Yeah, it's a funny thing in New Zealand. Like, if you ask any owner in New Zealand, they all want to win the New Zealand Cup. But when you take them to the sales and show them a nice big horse that could be a cup horse, their first reaction is they'll say it won't make a 2-year-old. So all of a sudden they want to buy 2-year-olds, and that's where the money's flowing. And it's kind of in New Zealand, all our money's funneled into the juvenile racing, and a lot of our horses are getting ruined by it. Where our cup standard's pretty poor in New Zealand. Like, years ago, we had great cup horses that went to war all the time, especially with the Australians. And in New Zealand, we've lost that. All our money's gone into juvenile racing, and we can't even get an open class race. And if you have, you've probably got horses in there that won 4 or 5 races that got to fill the field up. So it's kind of hard. Like as I said, I sold a New Zealand Cup winner and Cruise Bromac years ago, and we owned it ourselves. So the money was good at the time, but I think we got 60,000 for it. Ended up winning $1 million, so I think both people were happy. But it's it's just one of those things that if I like to make the horse, like be patient in that, and the right one comes along, hopefully I can set it for the Cup. But as you know, they're very, very hard to find.
Oh, they're incredibly hard to find. And like a horse like Cruise Bromac, when you sold him, did you think he'd be that sort of horse?
We thought he was extremely good. Like we looked after him. He didn't qualify to a 3-year-old, and offered him to Robert Dunn over here, and for some reason he turned him down and thought he wasn't the right horse. And we tried a few. Terry Shamil tried him as well, and for some unknown reason they didn't buy him. And then rang me good mate Dean Braun, who he didn't even drive him. He just took our word for him and brought him. I think his first start in Menango, he won 151. First start there, they'd been there 2 weeks. So we always knew he was a very, very good horse, and we didn't get a lot of money for him at the time, but it was still good money. And he caused them a few headaches along the way, as he did us early on. But it's just great to, he was well looked after as a young horse, and he developed into a great free-for-all and won over $1 million. So I got as much thrill seeing him win the Cup as if I would have owned him. So it was good for everybody.
And I think I saw the other day, it's still not over. The dream's not actually over for him, I think. Is that what I saw?
Yeah, it was interesting. I read that story too. He's back in work, so hopefully he can make it back into the winner's circle. And he's in great hands with Dean Braun, so you get every chance.
Do you think there's a reason why our top class horses? Because I listen to a lot of you guys saying that the top class horses aren't as good. Horses like South Coast Arden and those would stack up. I think it's the 4th and 5th horses back that probably aren't quite as good. Here in Australia, it's the same problem. Good luck to Brecon Farms with King of Swing, but he just makes mincemeat of any field that he's in. Like he's that far superior at the minute over here. Is there a reason you can see why the good horses aren't still around? Is it the fact that we funnel so much to the juveniles?
Yeah, just personally, I think it's probably a few factors, and I think our biggest problem is we funnel the money into juveniles, and I'm a big believer more horses get ruined than made trying to make babies. And as a trainer, like we're sacking yearlings and 2-year-olds, which years and years ago they wouldn't even pace to the 2-year-old and they could go on to be good horses. So we're kind of condemning the horses pretty quick, and we are pushing them probably beyond their limits, and you've only got to see the times the 2-year-olds are going there. It's quite crazy. And a good horse only has so many runs in, good runs in them, and we're getting them all out at 2 and 3-year-olds. They just got nothing left. But it's also our breed. Like we're breeding to speed, and we're getting more speed on speed. We're probably more so in Australia. You get on great with some beach line. We're probably not as successful here with them. They don't really suit our style. But even our breed, if it wasn't Better's Delight, we'd be breeding speed on speed as well. And they get up and run, but they don't. You kind of get to the bottom pretty quick, and they're just not tough horses. And as I said, years ago they didn't pace till they're 2 and 3, and we had a lot of farmers in New Zealand that could put their horse in the paddock for 6 or 12 months and bring them back as an older horse, and they could win a lot of money as an older horse, but they don't do that in New Zealand. Like I've got a pretty good horse here called Deny Everything, and I think might have won 4 or 5 in a row, and he's probably won 40,000, where I can have a juvenile that can probably win 1 or 2 races in a few placings and win 100,000. So what reward is there to look after a horse? I think it's wrong and needs addressed, but it's probably going the other way. They're putting more money into juveniles, and it's a different pool of owners. The owners want their money back quicker. They're probably a business model for the owners. It's more expensive to be trained, so they want a quicker return. So there's a few factors, and as I said, the breed and the money going to young horses. That's just what they're doing, and it's probably like they're galloping in Australia. They're breeding speed on speed, and they only want sprinters, where they come to New Zealand to buy the stayers, and it's pretty much like that in the racing, the harness racing game there. And they'll buy our top juveniles and that, but other than that, their open class horses are still very, very good, but we're just breeding speed on speed.
And just running them short. Do you like the way racing's going?
Not really. I think I'm not a massive fan of these short distance races. Like we have a lot of 1980s at Addington, and around the first bend you can wipe out half the field. It's just mathematically impossible for them to win. And it's not, even though they're driving, a lot of skills gone out of it. It's just pretty much press forward and keep going. If you find the markers, you're a big chance of getting the money. And some horses are running unbelievable sectionals and running last. I think Pelosi ran home in 54 and 25 last week and run near last in a race. It's just it's pretty hard going. And Melton's a track that they seem to be do that a lot. Like it's all barrier draw, and it's not. I don't think it's good for racing when you can kind of count your horse out from a barrier draw and they don't get every chance. Like Melton had probably 100 acres to build a track, and they build the smallest track they can, and it's probably not really common sense. And our racing in New Zealand, we're going the shorter distance. We're getting away from the standing starts, which takes a bit of the horseman skill out of it, like to educate a horse to begin and longer distance races. And the punters, one thing the punters do, and the real racing people, is they remember the great horses. They remember the Blossom Ladies, Gamma Lights, all the great Chokins, all the good horses we've had. They don't actually remember the top juveniles because we have a different one every year. So I think it's just probably the way it is going. But I'm probably not a fan of it. But I'm probably a bit old school.
Yeah, but I think you got some pretty sound points. A lot of what you said there, especially the part about Melton and being a leader's track. It's a funny thing because I think 2 weeks ago they were coming down the outside at Melton and everyone was blowing up because they couldn't work out which one to back. Sometimes we listen to the punters just way too much because all of a sudden they'd fixed the leader bias on the fence and no one could work out why they were coming down the out. But then they were blowing up because they're doing their money cold because they're backing leaders and the outside horses are getting up.
Yeah, one thing I always feel like I've done a lot of driving in Australia, and one thing I always find funny about the Australian racing is a lead up to a big race is probably more talk who's going to lead than who's going to win it. And the Miracle Mile is a perfect example. It's who's going to lead early. They probably who's going to win it's the second talking point. We're in New Zealand. Our racing is different. We back off a lot in the middle and that, but it's we try to find the winner. Where it is quite interesting in Australia. Like probably comes from you always had a lot of smaller tracks in Australia. Like you used to have the showgrounds and that, and I've been lucky enough to drive around some of them, and it's pretty scary. But you can see why leading's so important. But with the bigger tracks now, it's not as much. But the Australian, it's all out to lead, and it's just interesting how they lead into a big race. As I said, they're more interested in who's leading than who's probably going to win it.
Tell me you're not old enough. You didn't drive at the showgrounds.
No, I didn't drive at the showgrounds, but I've driven at tracks similar, and probably one of the more eye-opening ones I went to was Tamworth when I had a stay over in Sydney, and I seen on TV it looked small, but when I got there I couldn't believe how small it was. So it's been around a few in Tasmania. Went to Launceston and Devonport was a pretty small track, so it's pretty, some of those drives are a bit scary, but it's all part of it.
You got a track in Tassie, it's around a football field. They do 6 laps, I think. It's ridiculous. It's literally around a footy field. That's all that's inside of it is an Aussie rules football field, and they just keep going round and round and round. So I didn't think you were that old. Mares and the way mares are going, and I suppose you guys are selling a lot of your mares over there, getting them, racing them over here. You find that a bit of an issue?
Yeah, it's just a major issue for harness racing in New Zealand, and we've got a lot of issues here we haven't addressed, and that's probably one of them. And the problem with harness racing in New Zealand, they probably address things too late. They put the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff, and they look at all the things what they can do when it's too late, really. And mares has been one big thing. Like the Aussies buy mares if they can, but the States have just cleaned us out, like all our good mares in America. You start at Charlotte and the list goes on. Like we send our good mares to race in America and been very successful, and I've got some pretty good mares now, and honestly the money we've been offered for them is quite scary, but I'm probably lucky I've got good owners that we did buy them to breed from. But in the end we haven't got a lot of horses to race against because they've all been sold, and it probably shows the mares the Australians have brought, you've improved your breed a lot. And like I'm probably buy 2 or 3 a year from the Australian sale each year, and most of them are out of New Zealand mares because they're very good families and I kind of know them, and that never used to be the case. You never used to see the families, and just like for a mare in New Zealand, it's extremely hard. You don't get to race mares very often at all, and I think we may have 3 group races for mares, 2 Group 1s and 1 Group 3 for 12 months. So we have 1 in January, 1 in February, and then we've got to wait till December for the last one. And so when you're in 3 races to race your own sex, it's pretty tough. And then it's too tough for them because you get them thrown into the free-for-all grades, and like I had 2 mares this year, and we had to take on the free-for-all horses, copy that and that every week just to fill the fields up so they could get a race. And mentally it's not ideal for them, and we're asking them to go 2-6 stands and then back into the mobile racing. But they should, if we probably looked at the problem a long time ago, we wouldn't be in this thing. But as usual, it's too late while they do anything, and our numbers are way down and our breeding numbers are down because, as I said, our better mares have gone, and it's we're probably on a downward spiral than the upward way.
It is a little bit alarming because you basically only have to look at Nathan Purdon's stable. The quality of the mares that he's got that should be racing in New Zealand. Amazing Dream probably should have been in the New Zealand Cup, but because the races are so much better planned from here in Australia, they opt to stay here in Australia.
Yeah, it's just common sense. It's a business decision, and they've done the right thing. And probably the best example I've seen lately is Spellbound. She has a nice mare here, and she's got in some bad races, but she just races her own sex in Australia, and her record speaks for itself. And she's still going as good as she was here, but she just gets more opportunity there to earn. And you'll see in a month's time, my one will be there, Stylish Memphis, and she'll be there for a while. And as I said in the past, was sent Delightful Memphis to race in Sydney for a year, and she went on to America for 2 years to race. And she only ever raced mares, and even the two we've got coming through, the younger ones, they'll probably end up racing in Australia because we just don't get the opportunities here. And even if we want to go to Sydney, they're racing for $30,000 most weeks, and you see the group races around Menangle, and they just get a better record. And as I said, it's Amazing Dreams one, Spellbound, and there's many others, and it's something they haven't addressed. And as I said, by the time they have, it's too late. We can't even get a field here.
And that then puts in a problem, because once they're here in Australia, it's okay at the minute you guys take them back there to breed from in New Zealand. I spoke to Tim White earlier. He's got a horse over here. He sent it over here to race, funnily enough, a mare, but it was a trotter. But it's got it in foal at Lower Long Farms with Kath McIntosh, and he is going to take it back. But the temptation is to actually leave it there because we have some huge breeders bonuses and the rest. You can really dilute your pool in New Zealand if you don't, if you aren't able to, keep those horses coming back, let alone you're losing them as a racing product, but you might be losing quality mares from the New Zealand soils, full stop.
Yeah, definitely, and I'm probably more aware than anybody because I even raced some lower grade mares in Australia, a mare called Rock and Joy, another one called was another Bitters Delight mare, and they could win one or two here. Then they had to meet the boys in a hard grade, and I think Rock and Joy come to Australia and she probably won about 10 races, and the other one won about 9, and they won good money. The owners made money. We were planning on putting them in foal and leaving them in Sydney because they're eligible for the New South Wales bred series. You can go to Vic bred, whatever stallion you go to, and then you see the bonuses in Queensland, like 12,500 win bonuses for the first one. We've been very successful with winning the bonuses in New South Wales from the horses we've bought from the sales. We always get a $7.5 bonus, and it just keeps the owners going. But in New Zealand, we don't get a cent. We don't get any initiative. We don't get any help. The owners don't get any bonuses. The breeders get no bonuses, and it's kind of for everybody. The money's going out and not much coming in. Where Australia, they address the grassroots issue of the breeding. The breeding numbers have increased in the last few years, and there's no doubt that's due to the bonuses. And what you can do in Australia, you can race, whether it's a mare or just to use a mare for example, you can race a mare and you can win an average race and get a $7.5 bonus. It pays for your mare with 2 more years service fees, and you also get the Blue Series in New South Wales if you support the homegrown stallions, and same with the Vic bred, and that it's just you can pretty much race your own horses where they're bred. So I've been at HONZ for years over here with probably don't even bother responding half the time, and it's a grassroots issue that it shows in Aussie it's working and the breeding numbers are up, but in New Zealand we're on the way down. And Tim White's probably dead right. That's why he'd leave his mare there and put it in foal, because the incentives are so good. And it's definitely our future plans to have our mares in Australia to be eligible for those series. We can bring them back here. They're good enough, they can come back for those series. It's only a flight, but also when we sell them, they're actually worth a lot more money. And like I've got a horse here called Art Attack. He's a nice horse. He's no superstar, but we've been offered probably twice his value just because he's eligible for all the series over there, and he would win a lot of money. And as a business decision, that's why we do buy from Australia, because we get those bonuses, and we're getting $7,500 off our Bitters Delight service fees each year because we win a race in Australia. So it's pretty positive over there. We're pretty stagnant, really.
Our Golden Goddess bred in New Zealand, raced in Australia, foaled down in Australia. First foal by Bitters Delight goes through the sales ring, eligible for your New South Wales size, which by the time this goes up to, I think they close basically Tuesday, but this will go up Tuesday night. and gets $180,000 because he's eligible for the Vic bred, he's eligible for your New Zealand size stakes and the likes, and it's a cheaper option for Connections, although bought by Australian Connections, but they could send him back to New Zealand, or they can just keep following him down and do as they are. It seems a bit of a worry for me looking at some of the things that can happen to quality mares, and she was a superstar, our Golden Goddess.
Yeah, she's a great mare and filly, and as I said, like with those bonuses, that's one thing we look at. And when we do buy in the Australian sales, which we do each year, I do notice the Australian breeders are very smart. They're paying up a lot more for the New Zealand series. So, probably Martin Pearson from the Size Stakes here is quite proactive in that. But like, we're getting 2 pots each year. We can race the New Zealand series and the Australian series, and the bonuses in Australia are so much better. And as I said, when we do sell them, they're worth a lot more money. Like, we had a wee horse over here called Rocket Boy, who he was okay. He's no star, but he's suited the shorter distance racing, and he's done a fantastic job in Australia and Sydney. But he's racing in the breeders in Sydney, just racing his own New South Wales breed, and he's also eligible for Vic bred as well. So they're going to do very well out of him. And he wasn't paid up for the size stakes in that here, but the other ones we have bought are, and there are more Australian breeders doing it, so they're definitely a step ahead of us there.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at it, Martin, I think, said to me just 2 weeks ago, last year there was 3 horses paid up for the New Zealand size stakes. This year there's 60. So
yeah, I talked to a lot of the big breeders over there, and so they're very proactive at what they do, and they're very smart. And yeah, we're probably unlucky with the COVID this year. We couldn't get there, and hopefully we do this year. But they know the Kiwi fellas come over and buy their horses. Like, it's probably surprising how many Kiwis do buy in Australia, and we've got to bring them back home, but it's only one bid. It's only a $5,000 airfare, and when you're buying quality and they're eligible for so many series, they said it's only one win, and with the bonus you're in front again. So it's definitely pretty enticing when we see the New Zealand size stakes eligible beside their name as well, and even their fillies are in the Neville are fillies over here, which is a very good series, and they're all paid up for that, so it's pretty attractive.
Absolutely. The other one, I'm not sure if you're aware, but over here, because we race on a point system, I think you guys do a similar system where we get 5 points if you win a race and the likes. Mares get a 5-point concession every time. So lined up next to a gelding, if they've all won the same races, run the same placings, a gelding, and that if they're at 70 points, a mare will go back to a 65. So we encourage them not only have as many mares races as we can, but we can also drop them back a class, which a lot of people aren't happy about because they tend to get the better draws and the likes. But our fast class mares here are still in similar boat as you guys. There's just not the races for them spread out through the year.
Yeah, it's very good, your point system, how you can drop for the mares. Like, as I said, we race a lot of mares over there, and they get that 5-point concession, and you can also put the junior on to drop more points. We haven't got that here. And also our mares, we don't get any concessions. Like, we might get 1 less point for winning than a colt does, and to be honest, you're going to be in the same race with 1 point difference. So there is no incentive for the mares here. That's a simple fact. Like, 1 point's not going to make any difference. When you're talking 5, you're pretty much looking at a grade. And in New Zealand, we don't get any let-ups like that. So that's that they get treated they get treated harshly like the boys. And yeah, if you revert to the galloping, the fillies and mares always carry less than a colt and a gelding in a race. But in New Zealand, we don't get any concession whatsoever. So yeah, we're still a bit behind times in that too.
Yeah, definitely, and needs addressing. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to have a talk to you. One of the other reasons, you've been going all right on the training ranks. What'd you say? You had 3 winners this week. You had a winner on Sunday just gone. But the thoroughbred side of it, which I didn't actually know, it was pointed out to me that actually Tim White pointed out to me you had a good weekend. You got a winner on the weekend with the thoroughbreds. How many thoroughbreds you train?
Yeah, I just kind of got into it lately, and we've got 3 in work at the moment, so it's quite enjoyable. Like, we're probably 20 minutes from the main track in Christchurch, so yeah, it's something I enjoy. We just do gallop them on the lead behind the paces, when they have a gallop, and probably take them to the track once or twice a week. We're pretty lucky. We got Danny Crozier and Rachel Deegan from New Zealand Bloodstock that are very, very helpful to me, and we've got Jason Laking, probably one of the top jockeys that rides them for me. So it's like Mark Purdon driving your paces and work. So it's a pretty big help. But it's kind of the way the harness racing's going over here. The galloping's really going forward, and the money's extremely good. So you can buy them extremely cheap and win a lot of money with them. So the gallopers actually go and tour them myself, and we've made money out of both of them. So it's probably not a bad thing. The resale's not there, so it's different in that department. That once they kind of turn 3 or 4, they just race horses. But they're racing for 30,000 every second week, so it's pretty good money.
Why is the resale not there?
We have a massive market for 2-year-olds and a good 3-year-old to Asia or Australia. Like, we're talking hundreds of thousands for the good ones, but after that, the Australian ones are better than us as racehorses. So I'm kind of buying the older horses, but I'm kind of buying them for 3,000 or 4,000. They're winning. I think the last one I bought was 3,000, and I think it's won about 15. We'll probably win another 20, 25,000, no worries. And then it's actually well bred, so we can breed from it. And these come up every week on Campbell House. There's probably 10 or 12 a week, and if you look through now, there's a lot of harness trainers into the gallops. Like, they're dipping their toes. Michael House has got a fair few and having very good success. Robbie Holmes is doing a good job with them, and Stephen Reed's had them, and there's kind of more and more talk of it. So it's a different challenge for us, and it's something like I think everyone enjoys the challenge, but financially it's not a bad thing either.
Do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I love the gallopers. Like, it's more of a challenge, and probably one thing I did do them for was, I like challenge myself, but I just think our trotting breed or harness breeds, getting like the thoroughbreds, are finer boned, and as I said, they're bred for speed on speed, and probably just learning not to overtrain them. You just can't work the gallopers like a pacer, and every galloping trainer I run into when I got going, all they said is you can't work them like the pacers. That's the simple fact. So we don't do that, and we've got some good advice, but it's probably helped a bit in the harness game, because you just find with the weaker horses, you kind of treat them like a galloper and they do respond better. They just can't cop the work, and that's the way our breed's going. So it's kind of been pretty helpful in both departments.
So you actually, you learn off them how to train a galloper, but you get a trotter that maybe not quite measuring up, and you train it a bit like a galloper as well, and they can come through.
Yeah, just kind of keeping them fit and fresh and keeping the speed in the legs. Like, one thing I have learned a lot about the gallopers is you can train the speed out of them pretty quick, and probably I got in trouble. I'd race me gallopers like a pacer every week, and you can't do that to them either. It's like the gallopers give me a pretty hard time in that, but it's just a matter of like just not being too hard on them, and galloping is a good way to learn that. And it's kind of the weaker ones with me standardbreds, it's definitely helped.
Yeah. Mate, I could talk to you all day. Have you got a winner for anyone next week? Have you got a couple of nice ones for the Aussies? Have you got any nice horses going through the classes at the minute?
We had pretty good. All the ones in the weekend are for sale if they want them, so they're all priced right as well. They're definitely not expensive. And the funny thing I find about, I get a lot of phone calls from Aussie, and we're pretty honest. Like, we don't, my reputation means a lot, so I'm very, very honest when I sell a horse. And half my problem is I probably price them right, and the Aussies think there's something wrong with them. Like, I'm a big believer when I sell them, I have to leave something in it for the buyers, and I need repeat business. And if they're making money out of racing, they'll come back and buy them. So there's a few there for sale. Probably haven't got a big race team coming through, so probably what you see is what I've got. But probably just Stylish Memphis is probably the one to follow. She's heading up north, and a couple of maidens over Christmas, and probably a couple of nice 2-year-old trotters that'll win over Christmas. But there's no real superstar amongst them, but they're very hard to find. But just it's a good, nice wee race team.
All right, mate. Good to catch up. Hopefully I get to catch up with you at the sales, but I don't think so, the yearling sales, unless something changes with COVID. It'd be nice to see you guys back over here in Australia too. I know Nutrien would welcome you guys with open arms. So, but I think it's just going to be a bit of a battle this year with the COVID and the way things are going. But look forward to catching up with you anyway very shortly.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I was interested in reading the galloping news today here. New Zealand Bloodstock are trying to get all the buyers here for the gallops. They've got their own hotel, so there may be a light at the tunnel if they can get all the harness people here, so it'd be good for everyone to catch up and be good for the sales.
What, the bubble, the motel will be a bubble?
Yeah, they've talked about that in the, they come out today, New Zealand Bloodstock have got their own hotel there with 150 odd rooms and that, and they said all the galloping people come in and double vaxxed and stay there for the week and buy, and they'll do everything on site. So, hopefully they're doing that for the standardbreds if we're still in that, border restrictions, and we might be able to open it up to the Aussies, and it'll be a good result for everybody.
Andrew and James, if you're watching this, I always said I wanted the penthouse. They said they were going to give me the penthouse last time. They put me up, so I'm looking forward to this now. That'll actually be pretty good. All right, mate. Thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate your honesty. You said you'd be honest, and I think there is some serious concerns. We see it here in Australia, and I think it's a little bit bigger for you guys in New Zealand. It's something that people need to address.
Yeah, definitely. As I said, like the good thing about Aussie, I think they address them and make changes when they need to. We're a bit slow doing that, so hopefully things change here.
No, thank you very much, Mark Jones.
Cheers.